So, Tom, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking your time to talk with me today. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, my name's Tom Kubiniec. I'm the president and CEO of SecureIt Tactical. We are the global leader in military weapon storage, and then we're a newer consumer brand in firearm storage. We bring really 25 years of military experience into a line of modular, fast access gun safes.
Before we get started, I just want to say I like the guitar that you have behind you. Tell me a little bit about that. It kind of like sums up a little bit of your career too.
Well, I started life out of high school playing guitar. I was a heavy metal guitar player in bands for about 12 years. Ended up in Hollywood. Guitar Player magazine did an article in me in 1984. It was a spotlight article in the magazine as one of the best unknown guitar players.
Very cool.
Which opened a lot of doors for me. I moved to LA and started playing. You know, my goal was a audition with Ozzy or just one of the big bands and just be that damn rock star. And I developed tendonitis shortly after going to Hollywood, and my career was over. Got into telemarketing sales, learned how to sell, started a business in my apartment, and then through a series of crazy stories and events and things, went from selling typewriter and printer ribbons to laptop storage and security products into weapon storage in 2001. And now I'm considered the leading authority in small arms storage and armory design. When I started the company, I'd never owned a firearm.
Oh, wow. That's cool, man.
Yeah. So the guitar in the back, the original question, that was in a local music store for years. And I know the guy well. I've purchased many guitars from him over the years. And finally, one day I just walked in. I'm like, Terry, what's the deal with the guitar? And he started laughing. He goes, it's just a cheap piece of crap that I got. I thought it was cool. I said, sell it to me. So I bought it for, I think, $300. And it's been in the studio here in various positions. I've actually never plugged that one in and played it. So
okay.
It does play.
And for those of you who are just listening to the show, he has an AR-15 guitar hung up behind him, which looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess you'd call that an old metalhead rock guitar of some sort.
Yeah, cool. Well, I kind of want to talk to you today about home security. That's something that's near and dear to my heart. My audience, loves this topic. So, a lot of people think that home security in 2025 or 2026 is, a couple of cameras and a home security system. And I've been kind of fighting and telling people, no, it's a whole lot more than that. So what do families need to do to protect their homes beyond cameras and beyond the basic home alarm?
Yeah, there's, to address those two pieces, people have to keep in mind the alarm system it's great to have an alarm system, but the alarm system is used after you've been broken into. Same with the camera system. You are now, if that's all you have, you're basically saying, when somebody breaks in, I'm going to get a video of them and hopefully the police will show up. I'm not a big fan of alarm systems. I mean, I think they're important to have, but the response time is A, not as fast as you think, and B, everybody knows what it is. It's easy. I mean, the response times are, people, if you're into the thief world, if you're a professional in that space, the response times very quickly. So when I talk to people about home security, home defense, the last piece of the puzzle is the firearm. It really is. The first piece, lights. The number one thing you can do to protect your home is light it up. Motion sensor lights are cheap, and don't get one or two, get bright ones and light the damn thing up. It's I tell people home security is like high school bullies. The thief is not looking for a fight. He's looking for a pushover. He's looking, again, if all your house has to do is not look as vulnerable as somebody else is. Sometimes just motion lights on the front and the back of the house. That can be enough. It's the simple stuff. Make sure your locks are in good working order. Make sure your windows are locked. Summertime, we all open our windows where I am, and it's amazing. Everybody forgets to lock windows in the summer. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
it's closing. It happened, or they're left open, which we leave a lot of windows open in the summer, but they're second story windows. You want to keep,
Mhm. Mhm.
the back of the house locked up. But those, it's the basics. Those are the two big things: is locks and lights. And then also, if
Yeah.
you've got plants overgrown hiding your house, trim those back. Keep.
Mhm.
I mean, don't allow somebody to lurk in the shadows. Just eliminate the shadows.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's funny, you said you just have to make your home look like a less appealing target than your neighbor. And that's kind of some dark humor to kind of throw in there. Most people are like, oh, I would hate to send that to my neighbor. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what you're doing. You can encourage your neighbor to do good things to protect their home. But really, at the end of the day, your property is your responsibility. And I like that you're telling me, it's beyond the alarm system, use these lights, because it's really just about not looking like a pushover. I like the whole bully analogy as well.
Well, no, they're going to assume this is just my opinion. I can't back it up with data, but I'm sure it's there. If they approach a house and it lights up pretty bright, they're going to assume that's just the first layer. And there's a lot
Mm.
more. And they're going to see and say, wow, here's somebody who's taking security seriously. They're not going to mess. They're not going to go farther, most likely.
And a lot of people think, the thinking was, I like in the 80s when we had motion detection lights that were cheap that could be, bought at Kmart and things like that.
Yep.
It was going to simulate somebody turning the light on because they've been seen. And in a lot of cases, it's really is, well, not only maybe that's the case, but also maybe the neighbor is going to see me. The passing
Oops.
car is also going to see me. These guys lurk in the shadows, like you alluded to before. And if we take those shadows away, like they're exposed before they can ever lay a hand on our front door.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with all the inexpensive digital technology coming in, all the door cameras, all the things that are coming into the space, it doesn't take a lot to secure a home anymore. Um, I really don't think it does. It just, the other piece of that also is just planning. You got to spend the time to do it. And most people, I know so many people that talk about home defense and they get the training and they get a firearm,
Mhm.
and that's their home defense plan. And I'm
Mhm.
saying I said, that's really not a good home defense plan. The
Right.
absolute last thing you want to do is have someone in your home
Oh, for sure.
and have that level of threat where you feel you have to discharge a firearm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's
that's gonna change. It's gonna, whether you win or lose. I mean, if you lose, you lose. But even if you win that fight, your life is probably going to be over. Depending on the state you live in, you're going to be in a world of hurt, financially, at many, many, many levels. So it's everything you want to do to never ever have to be in that situation.
agreed, man. Well, very well said. Very well said. In your opinion, what are the weak spots that most homeowners overlook when it comes to home security?
Well, the basics of lighting and stuff, we talked on that, and I think a lot of people overlook the power of that when you light things up right. The other piece that is planning and practice. We'll move right to firearms. If a firearm is part of your home defense plan, well, how often do you practice your access? We've done a lot of training events, a lot of scenario training, and a lot of um, events like this. We're bringing a lot of people together to simulate, force on force. It's simunition, live fire training. And you'd be surprised how many people are very competent firearms. Some of these people are instructors. They're in the firearms industry. When you put them in a high stress situation, you'd be surprised how quickly they fall apart. They can't do basic things. We tell everybody, every gun in a home needs to be locked. And we can
Mhm.
easily demonstrate that a proper fast access safe provides faster access than simply hiding a gun in your house. But
Mhm.
with that safe, you've got to practice your access. If you're a handgun shooter and you attend the training, you go to the range, they tell you spend a lot of time on your dry fire training, your sighting, all the mechanics. You want to build muscle memory. So in a high stress environment, you can rely on the muscle memory to go through everything. Well, access is the same thing. So we tell everybody with our fast access safes for the first 35, 40 days, every night, if you've got like a fast box under your bed with
Hmm.
a firearm, every night when you go to bed, turn the lights off and in the dark, just reach down quietly, deliberately, and slowly, do the combination, pull the drawer open, close it, go to bed. Do that every night. And then once you've done about 35, 40 days, you've gone from conscious to subconscious. At that point, a couple times a week, I go to bed. So most nights I reach down and I've been doing this. I've got a fast box under my bed now for 5 years, 6 years. Since it was, and we've gone through different locks. I've had to retrain myself, but I'm so fast and I'm so, without even thinking about it, in total darkness, I can open that safe, remove a firearm, and be in a defendable behind my bed, position, maybe 2 seconds, maybe
Wow.
faster.
Hmm.
It's really, some of our little Fastbox 20s, if I'm standing at the closet, in front of the closet where that safe is, I'm sub 2 seconds to be armed in a high ready position. It's really quick. I practice a lot because I want to be able to demonstrate these things when people ask. But
Sure.
I tell
Yeah.
everybody is you've got to train with your safe is
Hmm.
a big part of a home defense plan.
Right. I like that you're talking a lot about planning and being intentional about what you're doing. There's a lot of people out there who are kind of afraid to think about these things because I guess they're afraid they're going to manifest something like this happening in their lives. What would you say to a person to encourage them to take that first step to thinking about defending their home and home security?
Well, it's funny because people think about it, but taking the first step, 'cause once you take the first step, the 10th step is easy. Because you're going to
Mm,
take the first step, which falls into the second, the third. Next thing you know, you're just moving through it. Um, it's hard to get people off the cliff sometimes. People talk about it and get people moving, but it's just w- so many people wait till it's too late. And you see the stories, the news stories. So it's first thing first is assessment probably be the best thing to start with.
mhm.
Just take a moment, walk around the outside of your house looking at it and walk around the inside. Make sure, is everything locked today? Are all the windows locked on the first floor? They may not be. And just think about those are your access points. Um, you've got you. I don't want people to rush out and do all this stuff because you've got to keep it simple. And in a plan like this, like we're talking about, these things all built. You can build them very slowly. There's no rush unless you have an imminent threat. And if that's a situation, just call the police.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
or if you believe someone is targeting you, just that's a different scenario. But um, I don't have a magic answer for getting people to move.
Mhm.
It's it's so critical. There's a percentage of people that just jump into this and just take care of it, and they take pride in that. There's a percentage of people in the middle that eventually do it. Then there's a percentage of people that just don't. And you
Mhm.
could talk all you want, and they're gonna talk about it, but they don't get off. They don't get out of the chair and actually make a difference. I don't know. Don't have an answer for those people other than once you have all your pieces in place, you've trained, if I've got firearms in my home, I've got lights. I mean, my house is pretty secure. You don't worry about this stuff anymore.
Mhm.
I really do not. I don't even really consider somebody coming into my home. At night in the dark, I'm going down the basement to get something. Oh, they can't. If somebody's at the window right now, what would I do? I'd hit this, boom, I'm here, boom. I just go kind of run through. I know my scenarios, but the reality is I go to bed every night. The thought of somebody breaking in my home I mean, I don't think about it.
Mhm.
I live in a fairly small town, save, and my house is very well protected.
Mhm. That's a great point, man, because I do that as well, doing, the secure dad stuff for as long as I have. That's something that you just it kinda you let it go at some point. You realize that you're not even thinking about it anymore. Once you realize that you have this plan, and I think the same thing for other family safety when you have taught your kids how to be safe online, when you have your privacy managed, things like that, you don't worry about those things anymore because you know that you have a plan in place that is going to work for you and your
Yeah.
family. and you just let that stress go, and you can just sit back and enjoy your life.
It's, stress-free living is the best way to go. And, I've been, being in this situation, I started my life living in pretty rough neighborhoods. My wife and I got married.
Mhm,
We lived in a neighborhood where you could hear gunshots occasionally. It was not a
mhm,
good, and that's a at that time, I did not own a firearm. I was in California, and getting a firearm was gonna be very difficult. I wasn't thinking that way. It was more about, you know, be aware of situational awareness was really what
mhm,
you had to deal with. And we're in an apartment building that felt pretty secure, but it's, getting out of those environments is you don't realize the weight that comes off of you when you are
mhm.
no longer concerned about, especially when you've got kids. It's, once you've got a family, that was a big switch for me of like, okay, I know I can take care of myself. But all of a sudden, holy cow, I got this little baby and I got my wife who's taking care of this little baby. It was just like, they're completely 100% dependent on my decision making and my planning.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that was
that's a big
that
thing.
was a way for me to really kind of take things to the next level.
Mhm. Yeah, it's funny because, when you're a single guy, I can take care of myself, I can take care of my
Yeah.
apartment or whatever. But when you get married, you're now responsible to, take care of your wife. You get a child that comes
Right.
along, you're responsible of taking care of your child and teaching them so that they can be self-sufficient on their own as well. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a switch that if you make it, it really works out.
It does, and it's, certainly if you have firearms in your home, and a lot of people do, the minute you've got a child, you've gotta get, I mean, every gun in America should be locked. There's no
Mhm,
reason to not have. I talk to people all the time, say, "Well, I've got a safe and all that," but I do keep I keep a whatever, shotgun or handgun next to my bed. I'm just like, "You know what? Throw it in a small fast access safe," and I can
mhm,
demonstrate that it's faster in a fast access because most people do not have handguns visibly out there in the open. They're in a drawer, they're in a closet, um, and it's inaccessible, especially the people who buy a handgun. They go to the range, they take the classes, they get their first handgun, they go to the range a few times, they shoot, and then they start going less and less. All of a sudden, 5 years has gone by. They haven't touched that gun in 3 years, and now you ask them quickly, "Where is it?" They're like, it's it's in my closet. It's up on the top shelf, left side." And they're not sure 100%.
mhm,
And, the decision to own firearms is, I tell people, especially first-time buyers, that it's not something to be entered into lightly. I said, "Look, when you
mhm.
buy your firearm, you're changing your lifestyle. And if you're gonna do it right." Most people I work with or talk to, they find that going to the range and shooting becomes part of their routine, which is really what we want. And they find it very relaxing, which is,
Mhm,
I just find that fascinating because
mhm,
it's discharging a firearm, especially at indoor range, is a loud, violent thing that's happening.
mhm,
Yet with good ear pro, your level of focus, and that's what it really comes out of when you're at a range and you're shooting, you're so hyper focused on these mechanics and these simple things, you kind of get into a Zen mode, and
mhm,
people come away from that driving home just so relaxed
mhm.
because you all the stresses of life, of your day, of all this stuff, it all melts away when you're sitting there with one thing you're trying to do, which is, I want to draw this firearm. I want to come into position. I'm going to discharge 2 shots. I want to be within a 2-inch group. You're doing all these things and you're not thinking about bills. You're not thinking about, you know, kids' grades. All that stuff goes away. So it's,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, no, I've experienced that too. It's really you're putting the rest of the world away. You're standing there on the line and you are just focusing on the safety rules, what you're gonna do, where your shot's gonna be placed. And yeah, it's like all the things that what was I even worried about before I walked in here? It seems so small now. And you walk out feeling a whole lot better than you did when you walked in.
yeah, it's, unfortunately, my travel schedule and my work schedule has been this year has been crazy. I haven't been to the range much. every time I go though, I'm just like, why am I not doing this more? It's,
Yeah.
actually, I shot a lot of clays this year. But
Hmm.
I don't have, I usually do 1 or 2, like 3 to 5 day handgun training courses a year.
Hmm.
So I Gun Sight Academy down at Paramount,
Yep.
in DC. I'm, I'm, I'm usually, I know enough of these people where I'm doing a class or two, and I find those are, 5 days, 2,000 rounds, very immersive. You really get yourself dialed in.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. One of the questions I really wanted to ask you, I know you've done a lot
You
of work with the military, and a lot of people try to cram military tactics into family home security, and it doesn't always work. But what is one thing that you do think the military gets right that does kind of transition to a family home?
well, for me, the obvious answer is training.
Mm,
Why is the US military the best fighting force in the world? It's not the guns, it's not the weapons, it's not the technology, it's the training. It's our military budget and our military's time spent on training is dramatically more than anyone else's. There's a few. Poland is very good. England, there's some armies out there that do a really good job, but American training and their whole system of training is so good. So you know, if you're going to have firearms in your home, training, and that is get an instructor that you like, work with an instructor. I don't need to go into the details of that, but that'd be the one thing that absolutely applies to home. The second thing for us, specifically for SecureIt, we were brought in 2008. We had a contract with U.S. Army Special Forces Command. It was a 2-year, 18 months, um, to solve their armory problems. I spent 18 months on the road. I went to every U.S. Army Special Forces armory, spent a day with each armorer, and took a deep dive into all the problems they were running into. And our job was to prepare a report for the command detailing why their armories were failing and then make recommendations. It was during that time that we came up with the concept of the SecureIt Tactical Weapon Storage Platform. I designed it, patented it in 2008, um, presented that to it was USAFIC at the time. Now that's it's part of SOCOM, the Special
mhm.
Forces community. They loved it, and within 3 years, we were the primary supplier to the U.S. military. We went into consumer products in 2016. It was really out of necessity. Sequestration hit in 2013, 14. That was the forced government cutbacks of the military budget. And it was
Mhm.
a budgetary law that they passed that basically said, if we don't balance the budget by 2013, we're going to have these crazy military cuts. And the cuts were so deep, they said, we'll never let that happen. Well, it did happen. So my company was decimated. We went from a
Mm.
big, vibrant company down to, I ended up laying off most of my staff, made the decision to go into consumer products and start doing a lot of research. As far as gun storage, the needs of a consumer in your home is almost identical to the military.
Hmm.
It really is. It's because what's happening is the traditional gun safe is kind of going away. It's going to.
Mhm.
It's never changed. It's been around since they started in the 60s. Gun safes really became popular in the mid late 70s, and then it blew up in the 90s. But they're all based on this big metal box lined with drywall and carpeting and the little piece of wood in there with all the W's cut that hold all your guns. There's no provision for gear and nothing is adjustable. Problem with the military, they transitioned from the M16, which was a standard battle rifle, to the M4, which was a weapon system. It's modular. Each gun can be configured differently. You've got a whole wide range of optics and attachments that go on the guns. When you look at the consumer market now, guns, you go back to the 60s and most guns were about the same size, between
Mhm.
38 and 42 inches long, iron sights, a lever gun, a bolt gun. You might have a small scope on something. Now you come nowadays and you've got from um, AR pistols to little subs to long duck guns. I mean, you've got such a wide variety of guns. And then the volume of gear associated with civilian firearms is growing exponentially. The needs are identical. And that
Mhm.
really is to go to, bringing our system to the consumer market really gave them the same level of flexibility. What we look at is straight line access to every gun, whereas you're never digging through guns to get the ones you need. All guns stored free and clear, meaning every gun is stored where it's not bumping into another gun. The system is adjustable per gun on the fly, no tools required. So you can walk up to a rack. A soldier, armor, or a civilian can walk up to one of my cabinets, open the door, and adjust the system on the fly to properly store whatever gun is in their hand. In the military, we go from little submachine guns up to shoulder launch weapon systems. Consumer market, we do the full gamut. There's not a gun we can't properly store. And that really, when you consider the wheel or look at what a traditional gun safe does to where we're taking the industry, it's a huge improvement. The other concept that we bring in is external modularity. We call it decentralized storage, but the idea of breaking up the idea of buying a big gun safe. It used to be 15, 20 years ago, you go to a safe store and they would tell you the same thing. Buy the biggest safe you can afford because you're going to grow into it. You're going to get more guns. That's nuts. It's crazy. Look, why would you need? And then if you happen to get another firearm, get another one. It's like telling a young married couple, buy a Chevy Suburban because eventually you're going to have kids. No, don't spend the money. Save your money to get your first house. And, but we look at decentralized storage or breaking up. Instead of, I don't have a great big gun safe with 40 guns in it. I have a whole bunch of small safes located throughout my home. And you could come into my home and you would never know I own firearms because all my safes, SecureIt safes, are all smaller, compact units designed to go into discrete locations and be hidden. Because modern tools violate a traditional safe in seconds. I can open up any gun safe in America, with the exception of a few that I'll point out, and remove a firearm in 18 seconds. That's my average time. I've been 12 seconds, but around 18 seconds. I don't care if you've got corner bolts, drill plates. I don't care what you got in the safe. The whole industry focuses. Security is all focused around the door. Hardened bolts, steel bolts, corner bolts, a drill plate, a whole plate door. When you look at actual crime data, thieves who are going to are coming after your safe, they take a simple circular saw. You can use like a DeWalt battery operated saw with a carbide blade. These blades are made to cut rebar in the cement industry. And I can cut a hole in the side of a safe at the rate that I cut 3/4 inch plywood. I don't care how thick. I can go through 1/4 inch steel. It's just marginally slower than going through the 11 gauge steel that most safes are made out of. It really doesn't matter. And people got to realize that modern tools cut safes in half very, very quickly. So what's the solution? Don't buy a great big monster safe. Buy smaller modular units. We also don't have the drywall, the carpeting, all the nonsense in the interior. Our safes are very clean and they're very lightweight. Our Agile safe is 90 pounds. That means you can put it upstairs, downstairs, you can relocate it, you can move it. Whereas a big 600-pound safe gets installed, you're never going to move it. The average American moves every 6.3 years. The two most left behind things when people move, tubs and gun safes. Because a moving company will not move a gun safe. They won't touch it for liability reasons. So you have to hire a gun safe moving company, which is $400 to $600 on either side of the move, and then the freight that's going to ship in a separate truck. So you've got another $400 to $600. So you're well past the cost of the safe to move it. So we drop all of that.
Yeah. And what I like what you said was that in your home, you can't tell that you own a firearm. And I think that's an awesome thing to say because I've been to people's houses before and they have the big traditional safe and it's sitting in the garage. And that's always kind of bothered me because it was like, what, can you not fit it through the door frame? Did you buy one that was just too big? Because the only thing between this safe and somebody else is your flimsy garage door, that somebody could walk in here into your garage, grab your tools, do whatever they want to this enormous safe, and it's not in your house. And I like what you said, keep it modular and keep it to where like you're inside, you don't feel like there's a safe breathing down your neck.
No, and the other advantage to that is, we call it the principles of decentralized storage. A thief breaks into your home, and this is all pulled from FBI crime data. They're going to go to your master bedroom, bathroom, the master bathroom, then master bedroom, closet, home office, den, dining room. They leave. They're in and out in about 9 minutes. They want prescription drugs, number one thing.
Yep.
Then they want valuables. Then they're looking for silver. Then they're getting out. Time is their enemy. So they want to be in and out very quickly. So when you look at firearm storage in your home, now if they know there's a big safe, they'll go after it. And you see the ads, the print ads all the time with a big safe next to a fireplace and a pool table and a beautiful view out the window. And they talk about heritage and pride of ownership and legacy. And I'm like, are you nuts? You're going to advertise with open windows, you got a huge safe. It's just nuts. So we look at firearm storage, and in your bedroom, one firearm. If your wife also is trained shooter, one firearm in a small fast access safe. Next most secure room in your home is your kitchen. I've got a large gun collection in my home. So in my kitchen pantry, I've got an Agile 6-gun cabinet. It's part of my collection. I also have an AR-15 that is home defense, set up for a CQB home defense firearm. It's right there. I've got an exit point from the home out of the kitchen. Closet next to my front door, I have another 6-gun safe, small. It's in that closet. I've got a pump shotgun, AR-15. I've got some lever action guns, just some gear and guns in there, but I have 2 defensive weapons. If somebody comes to my front door, I'm not going to let them in. They want to get cute. I'm armed very quickly. And, and we just, the whole process moves through the home of locating firearms and securing them where it actually makes more sense. And places like the closet next to your front door is one of the most secure areas in your home next to your kitchen. Thieves ignore closets. They're not interested in codes. But these locations also give you such a tactical advantage when you're looking at these scenarios. And nobody wants to think about a home invasion, and the odds of one happening are so rare. But the results can be devastating,
Oh, for sure.
Take the time to be prepared, especially if you've got kids. And there's a lot of information on our website about these principles and how we view firearms and civilian firearms ownership, which is very different than, the storage industry has been around a long, long time. And we're aggressively trying to change the way people think about it, because what they're doing is dated and wrong. And in many cases, there's a level of dishonesty in the firearms storage industry around security. Fire ratings, we can go into it. It's not really germane to our conversation. It's fake. Okay. Fire ratings are 100% nonsense. We've demonstrated it. We cooked a 90-minute safe. Our fire never got above 900 degrees. The safe went, I think, 11 minutes.
Oh, wow.
In a true 2,000-degree fire, that safe would have gone 3 to 5 minutes. And that's all they do. So it is complete nonsense. I tell people, talk to any firefighter. If they've been to a fire with a gun safe, they're toast. And the other side of it is, if you open the safe and the guns look good, do you know how hot they got? Hey, at 380 degrees, hardened steel, sugar group, your bolt group. Well, that steel can't be hard. If it goes above 680, your annealed barrel now is changing properties. If you get a 400 Win Mag that's been in a fire, I'm not putting it next up on my cheek and pulling the trigger, because it could literally a grenade. And any insurance company involved in a fire will buy the guns. If they're on your policy, they do not want you to shoot them. You should never shoot a gun that's been involved in a fire, ever. Because you don't know. That statement alone is like, so why deal with the BS fire ratings? And the other piece of that is the materials they use, drywall and carpeting, is the cause of corrosion of your firearms. It doesn't contribute. It is the cause. A properly cleaned and oiled gun is not going to corrode in America. I mean, I've got my grandfather lived next to the Great Lakes in a very humid area in the summer. Guns in a glass case, nothing ever corroded. In a gun safe, they sell millions of dollars of products, of desiccants and heated rods, all these things to stop corrosion, because the drywall, carpet, and the adhesives are highly corrosive. They're banned from use in military armories. They're banned from use in museums or any of the storage solutions we do commercially. But gun safety, and it's just crazy. So we are aggressively trying to change that, and it's It's an uphill battle, but we are slowly winning it.
Yeah. And I do appreciate you talking about the fire ratings because, you think about all the internal components who have been exposed to heat for that long. They're going to warp. They're going to have problems. You don't want to go
Right.
out and immediately fire them, that sort of thing. And you make a great point about the insurance as well. They're going to say, "Hey, we don't want you to do this because it's going to lead to more liability and more issues." So, yeah, no, thank you for very much going over that.
And the
Um,
last was fires in homes are so rare.
mhm,
Actual, I mean, 91% or is it 91% of all fire damage is smoke related.
mhm.
Actual open flame heat damage in a home is very rare and it's dropping every year because we're just getting better at being fire safe in America. The rate of fires is just dropping.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've got, fire blankets in my kitchen. I've got extinguishers, pretty much every other room in the house, that sort of thing. And of course, I have a fire station nearby. I'm blessed to live next to one or close to one. So, yeah, I mean, really, it is hard. Well, I don't wanna say it's hard, but, we're seeing great, strides in fire safety in homes, which is just a great thing to see all the way around.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Tom, when you are looking at storing a firearm, when it comes to budget, what do you recommend for people who are just starting out? Maybe they've got the one handgun. What's the kind of a budget that they need to look at? What's the safe that's going to be good for them?
It's there's price ranges all over the place. And it's my experience that spending a lot more money does not get you big advantages. The
Hmm.
fact that it's locked in a box is enough. If a thief has a saw with carbide blade and they're determined, they're going to open almost anything.
Right.
Most break-ins, most of the things that actually happen are targets of opportunity, drugs, and they're not planned, organized attacks. So a basic, the cheapest gun safe in the world is better than not having one. Okay, that's the easy. Now, if you're looking at access and home defense, there's some things are changing. You have to look at the locking solution. Last year, we launched HSFA locking in every product we make. It's high stress, fast access locking because we determined this was at a training event at Summit Point Training Center. We had a whole bunch of media people from the firearms industry brought in. We were demonstrating our Agile line of fast access safes. We had set up as a shoot house, force on force. You're in your office, you're in your home, and somebody breaks in. We were simulating all of this. If your listeners don't know it, a shoot house is set up as a
Hmm.
safe area to train. We're using real guns that have been modified to shoot simunition, which is kind of like paintball.
Hmm.
And then there's a catwalk above the whole scenario that you can observe and video and do. So I'm up there watching. And what we determined is when you trigger somebody into fight or flight, when they get all of a sudden they're jacked up and they're like, picture of somebody kicks in your front door right now, or so, at night, all of a sudden you're in an altered state. Your body goes to fight or flight.
Hmm.
In that state, we determined people couldn't open a standard safe lock.
Hmm.
We had they were laughing, going, "I can't get the damn thing open," because they couldn't. They didn't have the motor skills. Because when you go fight or flight, when you go into that mode, you lose fine motor skills. You develop tunnel vision. Your brain goes into a very primitive state about
Hmm.
fight or run. It's just very survivalistic, and this goes based on hundreds of thousands, millions of years of evolution. So we got done with that training center. I got back to my office 5 days later. We had the drawings done. 3 weeks later, we had the prototype done for HSFA locking. What it is it's a locking system, very simple. It's much larger buttons, and it's 6 buttons.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's no less secure, but what it does is when you look at the motor skill loss when somebody goes into fight or flight, by simply making the buttons, we've got a specific size we use that we kind of determined it would work. It gives you that ability to quickly open the safe when you're not at your best.
Hmm.
And, that's something that it's unique to SecureIt. Nobody else is incorporating. Nobody else thinks about this. The gun safe industry is all owned for the most part now by venture capital groups, by investment groups. Um, Most of the guys that started these businesses in the 70s 80s have sold, and all your
Mhm.
big players are owned by, which is, there's nothing wrong with capitalism. I'm in favor of all of this,
Mhm.
except in the firearms industry, none of the ownership, none of the leadership teams are shooters, are firearms people. They're
Mhm.
business people running these companies. And, SecureIt, we hire retired military, retired LE, we're very much involved daily in shooting sports, just to be authentic to what we're trying to do and to develop systems that work in real world scenarios. So that's, that H is another piece of kind of the puzzle of um, how we look at storage, how we look at security. If you're going to lock up a gun, you've got to lock it up in a way that you can get to it quickly. And with our system, and there's other systems out there, if you practice on a regular basis, it's much faster to have your gun locked in a fast access safe than to have it just sitting on the shelf.
Absolutely, man. Tom, I've had a really good time talking with you today. You've said a lot of things that I have believed for a long time, and it's great to hear a professional like you say that. Where can people find out more about you and Secure It?
Google my name, Google SecureIt. We're all over the internet. SecureItGunStorage.com is our website. And then I've done a pretty big online presence. We've got a YouTube channel, but if you just search us out, we show up just about everywhere.
Very cool, man. Well, Tom, thank you so much for talking with me today and for what you're doing. I appreciate the approach that you're bringing to home security and, securing firearms, man. I appreciate you. God bless you in your work, buddy.
All right, thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun.